my man, Laith Marouf. How you doing, Laith? You doing okay today?
Doing good. Thank you very much. I'm out in the field and glad to join you.
I see you out in the bush today. If you're on location, I would imagine I'm not going to ask you exactly where because I don't necessarily want to out your location. I know last time you seemed to be in somewhat of an unsafe spot.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you are in a much safer location today.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Actually, I'm not near the border.
okay.
We're between Saida and Sur in the south on the coast. There was an attack yesterday on an area called Ansariya here on the coast that
Yeah.
where the municipalities of South Lebanon gather their industrial machinery, their excavators and bulldozers and what have you. So the Zionists last night attacked all these excavators and destroyed over 20 somewhat of those machineries. So we're going to go and do a report on that. We're almost there.
Now, what was the objective in blowing up excavators, machinery? I suppose it's a small blessing they didn't go on a murder spree. But in the context of blowing up all of this equipment and everything else, these earth movers in this case, what was the objective?
Yeah, the objective.
Skip it.
So obviously the rebuilding of the south is crucial right now. Much of
Mhm.
the villages in the south are destroyed, especially the frontline villages. And as we see, the United States and the Zionists want to make this a population-free, ethnically cleanse the area, basically, not allow the residents to return to the south of Lebanon and make it into a Trump Disneyland kind of situation with a this is what the Americans want. They want to do a industrial zone in the south and depopulate it, make it into resorts for the rich. And so the only way you can fight that is by rebuilding the south and bringing back the people. And so the Zionists have been targeting all the industrial machinery that is being used. So anytime a village brings a excavator to take out the rubble, it's attacked. And now they're going further than just attacking things in the villages in the south and going to the industrial zones past the Litani River, anywhere they're finding any excavators in Lebanon, and they're trying to destroy them. So these are war crimes, plain and simple.
Is there the Lebanese government never responds to this at all?
Yeah, there was for the first time a condemnation from Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, a condemnation and asking for the world to condemn it again. So this is, it is his first time that he's condemning violations of Lebanese sovereignty and attacks on civilian infrastructure. But it is again speaking in kind of a slavish way, asking for international protection and the international uh, regime to actually do something about it. And we know, of course, this hasn't worked for the Palestinians in Gaza for
Right.
almost 2 years now. The genocide continues, and so of course the United Nations is not going to care if Lebanon is being attacked.
But he firmly believes that if Hezbollah puts down its weapons, that the United Nations will all of a sudden care, and the Security Council will all of a sudden care and get involved when Israel continues to carry out these attacks after.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he plays out in the media. Obviously, somebody like Nawaf Salam, who has worked within the imperialist, system for so long, knows that his masters will do nothing. I mean, the guy was in the ICJ, uh, and it's clear that the ICJ was not able to stop any genocides that were conducted by the West or lackeys or vassals of the West since its inception. So he clearly knows that the international quote unquote community and the international legal system and the international diplomatic system like the United Nations cannot guarantee the safety of the Lebanese people and the Lebanese territory. This is just for media consumption, because there's a lot of pressure right now inside Lebanon uh, from the populace. We're hearing on all the media, anytime somebody's interviewed from the Lebanese public, they're all mocking
President.
Nawaf Salam and his government. They're mocking and this is the best case scenario, is that they're mocking the regular things that we're reading on social media, and the streeters that we're seeing in the broadcast media are all very angry. Even derogatory terms are being used when talking about Nawaf Salam.
Is there political pressure in changing the government? Correct me if I'm wrong on this. The only way that any of this would ever change, where the military would actually be used to the benefit of Lebanon, would be for a regime change. And I mean from the public, not from those idiots, external monsters, but from the public itself, because it seems like the public is not on board for what this government is effectively trying to do, whether it's with Hezbollah, whether it's working with the United States and Israel, whether it's on some level legitimizing, or at the very least, not strongly condemning this idea of the what is his name, Tom Barrack, coming here and calling the Lebanese and the Middle Easterners animals. Like, meaning there seems to be a severe difference between what the public wants and cares about, advocates for, what's in the best interest of Lebanon, versus what the government is delivering and what they're saying.
Yeah, look, the government in Lebanon has no control of anything in the country, and this is why there's all the resistance groups have been born decade after decade in Lebanon, because the government cannot protect the sovereignty of the territory or protect the populace of the nation. So what we're seeing is, clearly Nawaf Salam may have promised things that he can't deliver to his masters in Washington and Tel Aviv, and also that the calculations of the Zionists and the Americans behind them were too positive in their mind of what power now they have in Lebanon after the 66-day war and the fall of the Assad government in Damascus. So they were high on euphoria, thinking that with the fall of the Assad government and the assassination of the leadership of Hezbollah, that somehow that has changed the realities on the ground in Lebanon in such a way that the resistance will collapse or follow their dictates without resistance, or that the local vassals and puppets of the Americans suddenly are more stronger, like Nawaf Salam or the Phalange and so forth. And reality now has slapped them in the face. There's no way for the military to accept to be used as a police force to confront Lebanese citizens. This is out of the picture, and the local militias that are, armed by the West don't have the power to confront Hezbollah. And if Nawaf Salam continues on this path of confrontation, his government will collapse and he will cease to be the prime minister. And then what else can the U.S. do? So the only way that the U.S. can change realities on the ground in Lebanon is to have a war on Lebanon from the outside. There's no possibilities of a civil war in Lebanon, and the Lebanese people will resist fiercely. And it's not going to be an easy thing, and I don't think the United States currently is willing to risk the lives of American soldiers to achieve what Israel wants.
They would use mercenaries if they had to use anybody, like expendable soldiers, like toy soldiers of sorts. I want to move to Yemen for a bit. The airstrike that murdered the entire government of Yemen, the president, or the prime minister, I should say, not to mention the cabinet, is pretty startling. And yet, nothing, crickets from anywhere else in the West than everything else. Give me your take on that. I mean, and I guess your take on two parts. A, this idea of a premeditated strike that would effectively murder the entirety of the government, what it means to be willing to do that. And B, this kind of secondary take of there's nobody seems to care outside of Middle Eastern circles, meaning Europe obviously doesn't care. The US obviously doesn't care. The UN obviously doesn't care. None of these things come up as or even register on their radar as if the government of Yemen is not an actual government.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a continuation of the collapse of the international system that was built after World War II. So much of the international law doesn't exist clearly now, or de facto, because the international courts are not able to do anything de jure. We saw the ICC and the ICJ fail to do anything. Therefore, international law now is de facto. And that means that it's de facto normal to, besiege a civilian population and starve them. That's norm now within the international legal system. And with what we saw with the attack on the Yemeni government is now normalizing the killing of leadership of a country by an enemy state with no legal jurisdiction. Okay, so that means now every prime minister, every president of any country is a legitimate target. The Israelis
He'll come back. He'll come back. He'll come back. He'll come back. Come back. Come back. Come back. He's in the bush. And so when I see him resume, he may have somewhat of a bad connection. I'll see him moving in a second, and I will bring him back. He looks frozen in terror in that picture. It's okay. It's okay, Laith. He'll come back. I have full trust and faith that he'll come back. Yeah, he'll be back. Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. He is perfectly okay. But Laith is making a point. Under normal circumstances, the notion of murdering the entire government is pretty outrageous. Here we are. You're perfectly fine. I know you're out in the boonies.
Yeah, and the phone overheated because this was on the sun right here, so it stopped the broadcast. So I was saying that it's now normalized to target leadership of a state, and therefore, the president or the prime minister of the Zionist colony or any European state or the United States are now legitimate targets in a war. And this is now what's normalized. I want to note one thing here about this assassination is that this happened, in a public building, prime minister's offices. It's a regular cabinet meeting that's scheduled, and it's the civilian cabinet. There was no Minister of Defense or generals or Minister of Security or what have you in this meeting. Those were all civilian victims that were assassinated by the Israelis. And the other thing that we should note here, so clearly there's no effect on Yemen's military posture and its capabilities with this assassination. The other thing is that Yemen already began its retaliation, and it says it will be targeting the prime minister and the president and the cabinet of the Zionist colony. And they already, just last night, for instance, did 10 different attacks on Israel with multiple hypersonic missiles the day before, the same thing. These are like some of the highest numbers of attacks in any days that we saw over the last 22 months of this war, 23 months. And they've targeted the general command of the Israeli military. They've targeted Israeli ships that are bringing oil from Saudi Arabia to the Zionist colony in the north parts of the Red Sea. So all of that is clear indication that the Yemeni armed forces are going to be doing something differently this time, and they raised the stakes. And so it's a stupid move by the Israelis. The Israelis have not been able to cause any change in Yemen's abilities, so they targeted a easy target, which is the prime minister and his cabinet.
Is Yemen building that stuff at home? I mean, and let me explain why I asked this. Yemen is not necessarily a rich country. They're a very poor country. But as you point out, they're using hypersonic missiles. They have technological capabilities that are actually quite precise in the way that they can target ships, or for that matter, the way they can target Israel. This means a certain technological sophistication that they're not entirely given credit for, or at the very least weren't given credit for prior. Were these just home industries that were built? Are they receiving assistance, let's say, from outside groups? Where, like, for example, the targeting data, is that homegrown? What satellites are they using for that? The missiles that they're building, are they building those things homegrown? Or are they receiving help and assistance from outside actors?
We know that all the building is actually happening inside Yemen. The scientists in the industrial military complex of Yemen are very well trained. They clearly, have went on missions of training and so on in different countries. Iran is clearly one of those countries. It's possible also that Iran smuggled some of the machinery for building some of these capabilities. But that doesn't mean that Yemen is not the one that's building these weapons. And Yemen has used hypersonic missiles before any other country on the planet in a battlefield. Before Iran did, before Russia did, and they even used multi-head, hypersonic missiles before anybody else. So this is all an indications of how independent their capabilities are from their allies, Iran, and in terms of the targeting capabilities. Yes, Iran probably is helping with that. Iran has multiple satellites stationed over the battlefield in Palestine, and the data is given to their allies. I've heard some people say China, but we don't have any evidence of that. So I don't want to throw China just because people are saying China is aiding in this. It's very the highest probability is that it's Iran. Remember, it's the axis of resistance. There's an integration within the military structures of the axis of resistance, and so it's the most logical thing is that Iran is the one that's giving Yemen the coordinates of things and helping them with the guiding of the missiles to their target through the satellite capabilities of Iran. Finally, we can say here that because Yemen is, yes, it is a poor country, but remember, building weapons and or even building structures, civilian structures, the most expensive part is the human salaries, right? And when you're in a poor country, you can easily build back from destruction because labor is so cheap. Let's say, for instance, same thing when we're talking about the production costs of weapons for a poor country where the salaries are so low and are enough even when they're low for somebody to survive because the goods are cheap in the market. Then your eventual costs are like usually a tenth of that of a big country like the U.S. who's spending billions of dollars on useless weapons.
I I want to go to Iran first, but there's another topic I want to hit too. But let's go to Iran first. Um, Considering that in the last 12-day war, that one of the first things that Israel did was a decapitation strike. Their objective was to take down the government of Iran. They wanted to kill the Ayatollah. They wanted to kill Pezeshkian, which I still don't know why they wanted to kill Pezeshkian. He is like the number one guy. Should Iran engage in a preemptive strike, knowing full well that Israel seems to be gearing up for another war?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at
I know this is more
thousands of
complicated,
years, yeah,
but
if we look at thousands of years of Iranian history,
it doesn't
we
do
will
that.
see that there was very few incidents where Iran initiated a war. This is true also of China, by the way, with like foreign powers. So um, I don't think Iran will, although I would like it that they would go ahead and bomb the hell out of Israel unannounced. But given that civilizational history, it's clear that Iran will not be the initiator of a war. And
They will war.
yeah, I mean, it worked actually positively for them the first time. When we're talking about the internal solidarity of the population, right?
Okay.
Remember, the Iranian population is very propagandized. There's hundreds of TV stations owned by the Gulf despots and the West that are broadcasting in Persian into the Persian population all this stuff about, hey, Iran is wasting, or the quote unquote the regime in Iran is wasting the money of the nation on arming all these resistance groups. If we can just stop building all these weapons, Iranians will be much richer and better situation. Okay, so for the Iranian government uh, to as happened last time, be attacked, and all these especially actually Pezeshkian, which you were right now disparaging for a second. Actually, it worked really well that Pezeshkian
Yeah.
is there, to the benefit of the more oppositional or more confrontational wing of the society. Every
Mhm.
time now Pezeshkian fails to do something, it adds more to the strength of the position of those who want to openly resist and militarily resist.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it's a good uh, internal propaganda ploy having Pezeshkian there, as much as it was sitting and waiting for the Israeli to attack, and the Zionist targeting civilian infrastructure and doing all this attacks, infiltration attacks from inside the country. It galvanized anyone who was liberal, not not pro-imperialist, but liberal, who's sitting on the fence inside Iran. It galvanized them all to the side of the conservative position of confrontation within the country. So I think the internal solidarity in Iran is now better because it didn't attack first, and
Mhm.
this will be true also in a next round, and it will even allow the military to be more aggressive in its attack on Israel because more people will be even more behind it.
I do understand that. And the first time I agree with you, I guess I leveraged that or balanced that against the number of lives lost when Israel, meaning I don't think Israel is going to attack at a time when Iran is at the strongest. I think it's going to wait until it gets some kind of quote unquote advantage before that attack takes place. And if they get the opportunity to have a decapitation strike on the government, we were just talking about Yemen and all of the people they murdered in the government of Yemen. They had no issue with it. And they had no issue with trying to murder the government of Iran. I guess for me, it's like, yes, the first time around that worked out. There was great political, let's say, benefits from it, despite the number of lives that were lost. How many lives lost are worth a potential like that the second time around? Because they will do the same thing. If they can kill the Ayatollah in a strike, they will. If they can kill the government in a strike, they will. And I guess I'm leveraging that versus, Okay, do we sit here and allow that to take place? Israel has no issue attacking countries first. The US has no issue attacking countries first. Why are these two countries the only ones that are effectively allowed to do that, with every other country having to sit by and accept and absorb the hit from that? I get it the first time. The second time around, the fact that they hit you the first time makes it very clear that they will do it again without any compunction. I hope you get my point. It's not, I don't think I'm advocating for it. I guess I'm asking most of the question of, why wait for something that you know is coming and that could actually hit you in a way that would be disastrous for the government itself, if you know that that attack is going to come and you're certain that that attack is going to come?
Look, I think it's important when we think about international relations and wars and so forth, um, to realize that for most states, its citizens are just a commodity, part of the, we cease to exist once we're talking about relations between states. It's only relations between sovereigns, and everything else is just a commodity as part of the wealth of the nation or its capabilities. So as long as the nation is there, everything is a part that you can use. And obviously, there is no liberation without a sacrifice. That's the given.
Right.
And states and movements count the martyrs that they have in different ways. One way is to, it strengthens the position of a nation, the more martyrs it has given in a struggle. The other is that obviously in a state situation like Iran, everything is institutionalized. There's a never-ending amount of people that can fill these positions. It's 90 somewhat million people in Iran. It's not like a small movement or that will be dramatically affected with the loss of a few leaders. So, I mean, I know it's not that humanist to say this, but when we're talking about relations between states, humans don't count. There's only the sovereigns that exist.
Okay. It's when I have conversations with people in the Middle East. Look, I'm an American, right? There's this kind of heavy individualistic aspect, the streak that goes through America. And so, yeah, I know it's a different culture, so fair enough. But fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. I accept.
It's not really about culture. It's really about reality that you live, right? I mean, you take
Yeah,
people that are from here and you drop them in the United States. You can see the Arab Americans, how docile they are, or how individualistic and so forth, right? It's 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 really about the realities that you live here. You're living that, for instance, here in Lebanon, as an example, that every day there's attacks by the Israelis. Every day there's infiltration by the Americans, the French. Every day there's some Saudi prince that comes and craps on the whole country and walks out.
right.
Every day there's a Kuwaiti princess that is caught with tons of drugs in the airport and then released. Okay, so you know that the reality tells you here that there's no such thing as a state, and so therefore everyone here acts as a sovereign. Okay, they
I see.
will face off with a cop and say, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm sorry to curse. You know who
You're
my
fine.
cousin is? You know who my uncle is? All right." Now, this same Lebanese guy goes to the U.S. He's not going to speak in the same way. He's not going to behave in the same way because he knows there is a sovereign, whether we like Trump or not. He's a sovereign, and his police force and his intelligence
It
have
will be the
control of the
best.
country, and nobody can twist their arm to do something. Here, you just call your uncle, and your uncle calls his friend, and you're out of jail. Right? This is how the reality is. So there's nothing cultural, but there's no real cultural difference.
Different.
You were putting that video with Kaja. What's her name? Is Kaja? Is
Yeah,
that her name?
Kalis. Yeah, Kalis.
Kalis,
Kalis. Yeah.
right? And obviously, she's talking about these racialized concepts of what culture is, right? And there is no racialized intelligence, right? There's no
Yes.
culture that's good at basketball. Black people in the US, they're good athletes. They're good athletes. That's all they're good at. See, it's really weird, and we should, rid ourselves from this. And you were doing that. It's great stuff. Uh, you know, every culture has its potential to be the best in everything. Just the conditions force us into different things
Agree.
where we
Agree.
live.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. And maybe probably that's a better way to put it. The lived experience is different, and the environment is different. I think environment creates reality. It's just, yeah, I just don't think that way. And I don't know how many Americans think that way. In the sense of, I was having a conversation with Miranda yesterday. And, I was pointing out, like, I don't want the Ayatollah to be killed. Of all of the people who make speeches, who make their point clear, he seems to be more right in the things that he's effectively saying. I don't want him killed. And Mirandi's thing is kind of like, we have people who can take these positions if these people die. And it's like, that's horrifying to me. I do get it, though. I do get your point. It's like, it's the cost of freedom. It's the cost of liberation.